Hello, and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our panel of experts to discuss your biggest interview and resume questions, as today is a live Q&A. Before we get started, here are a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 10,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, the UK, and Brazil. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. And as I said before, we encourage you to send us your most pressing job search related questions, as this is a live Q&A. Before we get started with those questions, I'm going to have our experts introduce themselves and share their hot jobs. You can view the hot jobs by scanning the QR code or by visiting jobs.system1.com. Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Katherine. I'm a senior recruiter at Gillette. I specialize in life sciences and healthcare recruitment. My hot job for today is a production operator in Orangeburg, New York. We have multiple openings. One group in particular would like to have GMP experience, so preferably in pharma or medical device. The other group is more so warehouse experience.
And my name is Dennis Hurley, a senior technical recruiter with System One. My hot job today is a Dynamics 365 solutions architect. It's for a health insurance provider. We are seeking a Dynamics 365 solutions architect with about 12 plus years of hands-on experience, specifically delivering enterprise implementations across Dynamics 365 sales, customer service, marketing, customer insights, journeys, and project operations. And the job is fully remote.
My name is Garrett Gadosh. I'm a senior recruiter with System One. I mostly work in the transit and rail industries. And our hot job here for today is a Railcar electromechanical production technician. It's in Los Angeles, in the Santa Fe Springs and Carson, California areas. They're looking for people to do overhauls and production of an assembly on passenger trains that they're going to use for the LA Metro to get ready for the Olympics, actually, when they're coming to Los Angeles. They would prefer people with a rail experience, but if you don't have that, if you've worked in aerospace or other production and assembly jobs and positions, then they can still use you there.
Awesome. Those are some great opportunities. Make sure you connect with our experts on LinkedIn if you're interested. And again, you can view all System One jobs by scanning the QR code. And next, I'm going to have our experts share their job search tips that candidates have been benefiting from. In the meantime, please send us your questions. We're going to get to answering as many as possible. Kat, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I feel like people tend to ask about resume and how long it should be. I think the assumption is that everyone assumes that the resume needs to be one page, no matter if you have 20 years experience. That is not the case. If you're a recent grad, that's very understandable to have a one-page resume, but as you're developing your career and really, having more responsibilities, you want it to have a little bit longer to show more of your expertise in the field. So about like 2 to 3 more pages would be fine. I know some people talk about, if you have a PhD degree and you have, a bunch of projects you worked on, can that be another page? That is absolutely true. That can be a whole different page. But I think when it comes down to the job itself and your responsibilities, it should be 2 to 3 pages if you have, tons of years of experience. But again, 1 year for if you're a recent grad.
Yeah, excellent advice. My side would be the preparation for video interviews. And most people are starting off with either phone calls or a lot are going directly into a Teams meeting type setting for a video interview. Make sure that you're prepared for the interview, have a decent, shirt on or outfit on in order to wear, be in an environment that is not noisy, a quiet, a neutral background, or blur your screen, and be ready and be focused and don't have a lot of distractions going on in the background. I know some people are on the go and they think they can take them from their cars and on their phones, but hiring managers traditionally find that very distracting. So find a nice quiet place where you can be sitting in front of your laptop to do your initial interviews on video.
My tip would probably be on the resume side of things. obviously keep your resume up to date. But if you do have things that aren't on your resume or any gaps, talk about those with the recruiter first, because they can usually find a way that you can, tackle that or package that up to send to the hiring managers or the people you're interviewing with, so that they don't have to ask about that. You can be prepared to explain if there's anything in your resume that looks a little bit off, or if there's gaps or anything like that.
Well said. Thank you for the tips. Our System 1 recruiters always have the best tips, so make sure you connect with them if you haven't already. And next, I see a question coming in from Alicia. We're going to break this question down. She has 14 years of teaching experience, but wants to get into corporate. And she wants to know, should she take the teaching experience off since she wants to work in corporate? That's a good question.
I can answer that. I would personally leave it on. I think it shows that you've been working for quite some time. If it's the same school for 14 years, that just shows that you're committed to one particular school in this situation, which means it could be a particular company if you're trying to get into the corporate side. So it shows, like I said, that you're interested and devoted to what you do. So I think leaving that on is great. If you have corporate experience and you've done a little bit of internships or something else completely different, still put that on there on your resume. But you can definitely make, I guess, the responsibilities for the 14 years, you can make it short. You don't have to put a long information onto it for bullet points, but I would leave it on.
I totally agree with that. The other thing that I would also recommend, or maybe add to it, is put it in your executive summary up top. Senior teacher with 14 plus years experience, looking to leverage that into a corporate type environment. Something at the top that is kind of part of your summary that helps the recruiter or the hiring manager see what your intentions are and why you're applying for that role, might also help kind of gain some traction there and explain why that is on your resume and why that experience is relevant.
Perfect. All right. And we have another question. How good is LinkedIn Premium for the job search? Does the AI resume modification really make you stand out, or is everyone else doing the same thing? Good question.
Well, I can jump in. Usually we deal with LinkedIn from the other side, from the recruiter side, or that kind of thing. But we have AI tools on our end too. So a lot of times, if you use the resume modification with AI, that can help, because on the other end, it helps it stand out and get noticed. The main thing, of course, always with AI, don't let it do the work for you completely. After you use that to, modify or to upgrade or enhance your resume or anything, double check everything, make sure that didn't, change anything around or put anything in there that doesn't make any sense. From there, then, you should be the final touch to make sure that everything looks good for your job search.
Yeah, and for the AI resume, make sure you're looking at everything over, because even though you're using that to edit your resume, things may not be accurate. So you always want to double check and make sure it's something personal to you. And this is something that your resume should be who you are. So you don't want to use always constantly AI for this. Again, you want to make it personable as well, and just make sure everything's accurate.
Yeah, and the only thing I would touch on is LinkedIn Premium. Great, it can be. It really depends on your budget and where you're at in your job search. It's not a must. You certainly don't absolutely have to have it. One thing that I will shamelessly promote is, what's better than LinkedIn Premium? A recruiter, like somebody from System 1 that's going to be able to help you navigate it much faster than utilizing a paid-for service by LinkedIn. I know it has some value, and some people have seen some success with that, but traditional human communication with a recruiter that can help you navigate the marketplace is probably going to do you better and won't cost you any money.
Absolutely. Well said. There was a statistic that we put out. Most roles come from networking, and networking is working with a recruiter. It's a huge part of it. So thank you for that. And what are the biggest AI mistakes that you guys are seeing, since we're talking about the LinkedIn Premium AI feature?
I think it's just what Kat said and what I touched on earlier, that make sure everything's accurate, because even the best AI tools now can add in things that don't make sense or that aren't on your resume. or generalize something that you don't have specific experience with. So definitely double check everything after you've done it. Make sure that everything makes sense, and you want to put a little bit of your own personal touch on there too, like Kat said.
Absolutely. And when people are trying to transition industries, how can they utilize AI and utilize a recruiter?
That's a great question. From a technology standpoint, a lot of people have in the last decade or so transitioned from, let's say, a service-oriented type role and gone to a boot camp or gotten some level of education, maybe not a full 4-year degree, that are trying to break into the tech industry. A lot of that came from using a recruiter at that time to help build the resume and explain their case. AI can do a lot of that for you. So I think if you use it in unison, as a partnership to say, okay, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, and have somebody to help you generate ideas. I find that AI is incredibly helpful the more context you can give it. So if you're talking to a recruiter that has helped somebody navigate into the space that you're trying to get into, they may be able to give you some extra, bullet points or tips to give AI to help enhance that resume.
Yeah, I mean, with Dennis, I agree with that, and Garrett too. I think I'm going to touch a little bit on what Dennis said about getting in contact with the recruiter. Yes, definitely do that 100%. If we're not the right person to, in your field that you're looking at, we'll redirect you to the best recruiter possible that would help you with that particular job. I know that sometimes I get on LinkedIn a bunch of people reaching out, showing that they're interested in this particular position, but it may not be my skill set. So I will always try to do my best to get you to the right person. But again, reach out to us. We will help in any way possible.
Perfect. We have another question coming in. Jesse is asking, from a recruiter's perspective, what would you recommend candidates focus on to stand out in today's competitive job market? It's a good question.
Yeah, I can take that. So personally, I would say for a resume, if you're going for a particular job, making sure that your resume matches the job that you're applying to, especially looking at the must-haves or the qualifications for this. If there's things that you've done or have experience in that's not on your resume, but again, it's in the job itself and they don't see that, they might pass over you because you don't have the qualifications for this job, even though, like I said, you may have it. But if it's not in your resume, unfortunately, that will be the case. So definitely make sure to do that. And then also too, for like interviews, what Dennis mentioned before, being really prepared. That's going to make you stand out to show that, as you're prepared for these interviews, having those questions, looking at what company it is that you're interviewing for, it's going to make you stand out even more. And it shows that you're passionate, that you're intrigued, and you want this job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, working with the recruiter as well, you may come from a certain background or you have certain experience, but the recruiter's going to know the specifics of in that industry, what they're looking for, or what that client or what that company is looking for. So even if you come to take a case from my background here, if you are looking at a job that's doing work on rail cars or trains, you might have a lot of experience with other types of assembly or aerospace. So we know how to take the skills that you have, that package them up to send to the company and the managers that are looking at, because they'll know the important things that are coming through from there.
Yeah, all absolutely spot on points. The other thing is we're on LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is congruent with your resume. A lot of times if you're using LinkedIn specifically to apply for jobs or network with people, it causes a lot of confusion if there's gaps on your LinkedIn that don't match your resume and things aren't in line. The other thing that I'd also suggest is make sure you have a nice LinkedIn profile picture, not just, a cell phone selfie when you're out with your friends kind of thing. Something that, it doesn't have to be a professional headshot every single time, but something that's with a bit of a neutral background or something that's got kind of a benign background that's not distracting, and, keep those LinkedIn profiles up to date.
Absolutely. All right, Dennis, I'm going to go back to you for this one. It has to do with your job search tip. I've conducted an interview prior to the start of my workday from a parked car. There was good lighting, good sound quality, in a quiet environment. Can this hurt me? Purpose is not to create a disruption in my current role. I'm sure that's a very common struggle.
I think that came in from a Denise. Yes, Denise, that is a absolute challenge. The scenario that I presented was best case scenario. I have had that same situation with folks that we're walking through. If you are able to let the hiring person know, or your recruiter that you're working with, hey, I'm coming from another job, or I'm getting ready to go into another job, I'm going to be in this setting, that sometimes is a little bit helpful. Not always, you can't always do it, but as long as you're doing the best you can. Denise, I wouldn't say it necessarily hurts you, but I was trying to describe more of what is optimum, if you can do that. Some interviews are more conversations. Some interviews are interrogations, right? Like if you're out there and you're interviewing, you sometimes have both fits. With that being said, if it's a conversation, just let them know, hey, I'm on my way into my other job, and I'm looking for a better job, which I think you might be able to offer me, maybe be able to slide that a little bit into conversation, that it's not because you're not taking this seriously. It's just situational because of your current career.
Fantastic. This one might be a little bit repetitive, but what is the best way to stand out when connecting with a recruiter? I had a recruiter tell me they had over 400 applications for one job. So yeah, I'm sure you guys face that every day. How should they reach out to you?
Well, I mean, it's the nice thing about working with a recruiter too is, we don't try to talk people out of applying for jobs or looking for jobs, but at the same time, because we have usually knowledge and background, we would be able to tell you if, you're interested in a certain company. We would say, hey, with your background, your skill set, like this position might be a better fit for you, or hey, the position you're asking me about, like they're looking for this, so we can still send you over to them, but it's going to be tough because it's very competitive and they're looking for people with certain kind of backgrounds or certain kind of experience. So we can save you time in that regard too, to tell you, these are the positions you might be looking for. These are the positions you might be best suited for.
Yeah, or connect with us on LinkedIn too. I have people constantly do that all the time, saying, hey, I saw this opportunity on your website. I'm interested in this particular position. They'll send me the link and their resume, and I will try to work with you. Again, if it's in my sector, which is the life science and healthcare, I will be able to help you. Again, if it's something else particularly, I will redirect you to the right recruiter, but you can always reach out to us on there too.
Exactly. There are roles that we have that, we can post within 48 hours, especially in tech, developers, we can see 600 applications. To your point, 100%. It's the people that will reach out and say, hey, by the way, on LinkedIn, I applied to this, or send a follow-up email, that tend to get to the top faster, to at least be reviewed. Yeah, there might be 600 applications that we've seen for the job, but we're only going to be pretty much working with a handful of people to submit to the hiring manager. So if you give some sort of notice to, if you apply to a job directly and you see somebody in their talent acquisition or their HR or their department, if you're not working directly with the recruiter, connect with them on LinkedIn and let them know, hey, I applied for this job. Can't wait to hear from you. It doesn't need to be, anything too intense. Just, a quick message as a follow-up will traditionally, not every single time, not every message gets caught, but we'll give you some better odds on getting to the top, at least to have a conversation and maybe get in front of those 400 applications.
Perfect. And this question overlaps a little, but I think it's good to mention from a recruiter's perspective, what differentiates candidates who successfully build long-term relationships with recruiters from those who just apply and don't hear back?
I'll take it. So relationships are hard in any capacity of us being humans, right? And so when I have someone that I'm working with that is staying engaged and is understanding of the process, all because we work together doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to help you find a job. There are a lot of things that are not in my control. And sometimes I think for recruiters, it might be a little easier for us to be the target of that being let down and then being mad at us. as opposed to it was something out of our situation. We were trying to facilitate an opportunity, but we don't sign the check at the end of the day for the hiring organization. It's a hiring manager that makes that decision. So people that understand the process and what our role is in that and can work with us, we tend to have more success. There's been a number of candidates that I've had an opportunity and pleasure to work with that if at first we don't succeed, we try again, and we've had success. When it becomes contentious in the early on, it's harder to work with people. Just being honest.
Yeah, I agree with Dennis. And honestly, again, we'll be able to help any way possible. So, we'll do our best. And I think it works both ways. So if you see anything too, because even though I've always say this, yourself better than anyone else. So if you see something on our website that's really intriguing to you, that you're interested in, that we may have not approached you about that particular job, let us know, and we'll be able to talk to you more about it and see if you're the right fit for it. So again, it works both ways. We'll be able to help you. If you can help and send us jobs too that you're interested in, we'll talk about it as well.
Perfect. Well said. And I'm getting a couple different questions, so I'm just going to paraphrase it here. How should people address career gaps on their resume and in an interview?
I mean, kind of like what I said at the beginning, just be honest and be upfront about why there are career gaps, because then we can usually, like if we submit your resume or your profile over to a hiring manager, we can tell them and prepare them to say, hey, there's a little gap here, but this is why. There's no sense in trying to, hide it or anything like that, because if there's a gap on your resume, the first thing that the hiring manager is going to ask in an interview is, why is there a gap on your resume? So, if you tell us, we can prepare them for that to the point where they might not even be worried about it and they won't ask. Or we can prepare you as a candidate to say, here's what I was doing. This is the reason why there's a little gap here, or these are the circumstances and what happened. Just be honest and upfront, and then we'll be able to help you out the best we can. Like, we still want you to get the job, obviously.
Yeah, and especially if there's a gap because of medical reasons or you're a caregiver for someone, we understand that. Even hiring managers understand that things constantly happen all the time. So again, as what Garrett mentioned, be upfront with us about it. We'll be able to talk with the client directly. But again, they will understand, especially said if there's something that's very medical related, or said you're a caregiver, you had whatever you had to take time off for, again, they will understand.
Agreed. And to your point, life happens. Healthy hiring managers understand that life happens. And if it's not medical, and obviously we don't ever expect you to disclose the specifics of any medical or matter like that, but in the contracting space, especially in IT, people do experience layoffs. There are sometimes you just got to watch the news, and I think I saw Oracle the other day cut 20,000 people. You're going to have gaps. You weren't anticipating that layoff. You weren't anticipating any of that happening to you in your career. And it may take you a little bit of time to find that next opportunity. It's okay. We can work with it. Again, that honesty and that transparency, you don't have to always share a lot of specific details, but just give us some context to work with, and we can prepare the hiring manager or the hiring team to kind of know what's going on. It's happening to a lot of people. I think people sometimes carry a stigma of shame with it, and there shouldn't be. It's happening across organizations nationwide right now. So hiring managers know it's happening, and they will understand it.
Well said. Thank you. And we're getting a couple questions about technologies in demand. So in your perspective fields, what technologies are you seeing the highest demand for, and what is the smartest focus area for someone looking for a new role?
Go ahead, Dennis.
No, go for it.
All right. Even in the areas of transit or rail or even manufacturing, it's going to sound like a kind of cop-out answer, but the biggest thing that companies are looking for is somebody who's reliable and somebody who's willing to learn. You might not have the same expertise because technology is always evolving, jobs are always evolving. So you might be an expert at something, but now a company is building something different or looking for something different. If you have the adaptability and you're able to learn and you can show that you are reliable and are able to pick up on these things, that's going to be a major difference rather than you being an expert in something or certified in something. Because at the end of the day, if you can't do the job well, then the company's, that you're not going to last very long there. So it's not necessarily one important technology or one important skill you need now to advance. It's adaptability almost, or the willingness to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, to Garrett's point, AI is the big keyword. Everybody's talking about it. It doesn't matter what sector it seems like you're in right now, but especially in technology. Be familiar with it. Be familiar with the different platforms, whether it's Anthropic or ChatGPT, or how to use AI. Not necessarily be an AI developer, but that being able to interface with it and not sounding intimidated by it, or that it's threatening your job, that it's just another tool in your toolbox. For technology folks is great. Cybersecurity is always an area that's continuing to grow and will continue to be a concern. All we have to do is, watch pretty much the news again any day. Not that I promote watching the news necessarily, but you'll hear about, cybersecurity breaches from healthcare companies, personal data being taken. There's always going to be a demand for that, and there's only so much that AI can do. We still need to operate as humans for that. There's also going to be needs for data engineering as well too. That's a big topic right now that's coming. I'm seeing a lot of demand for.
Perfect. And sorry about that. All right. Sometimes I notice roles get reposted on platforms like LinkedIn. Could you share how candidates should interpret that? Does it usually mean the role is still open, or is it part of an internal process? Good question.
Well, I mean, in general, if it's reposted, it usually means there's still an opening. Sometimes there can be situations too where there might be more than one opening for a position. So even though we found some good candidates and they're going through, we still need more. Or it's one of those things where they might have identified somebody, and then through the onboarding process, and when you get close, something happens and something falls off, and then a position that maybe looked like it was filled now isn't filled. So it can not necessarily mean anything cryptic or bad, but sometimes that just means, hey, it's still out there.
Perfect. And our last question, what is one piece of advice you all have for job seekers that are feeling frustrated with the job search?
Yeah, I can go. I feel like I've been in that shoes. Before I came to Jolet, I was in a different company and I was laid off, and I was applying, and at that time it wasn't a really good time to really apply, and wasn't a lot of jobs, so it was kind of hard. I was feeling frustrated as well. What you have to do is really be positive, and I know that's kind of hard to say, but you have to say, okay, I'm going to keep applying, and you may have to apply to 25 jobs a day. And unfortunately, that may be the case, but something will happen for you. And I think it's the right time, the right opportunity. It will come along. So don't feel devastated where you're getting a lot of rejections, or you're feeling that maybe it's me and I don't know what's going on. That's not the case. I think for most of us, we've probably been in your shoes. But again, as Garrett and Dennis mentioned beforehand, of things that will help you to stand out, it's really that updating your resume, matching that, being prepared for these interviews. It will help you along the way as you're going through this process. But again, just really be positive and keep telling yourself that.
Spot on, Katherine. Yeah, keep your head up. It's hard. There's never really a good time to find a job, especially if you've gone through a layoff. It's not, and there's times that are harder, and we're seeing some of that right now. One thing that I would also say and add to that is network. In our wonderful world of easy apply buttons being on Indeeds and LinkedIn, and just you can sit there and hit apply and to 25 jobs in a day and be done in an hour. Have conversations, connect with people. LinkedIn is an amazing platform. Connect with recruiters, talent acquisitions inside of organizations. Let people know. Do more than just hit easy apply. Send a follow-up email to somebody. Do that little extra step sometimes, or heck, even leave a voicemail if you can find someone's phone number and say, hey, I'm trying to find out more about this job that I just applied to. Will get you some more attention than that. That easy apply button is real easy to do. I get it. I understand it. But if you just hit that 25 times in a day and then walk away, you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and also dig a little deeper with the recruiter. Don't get too caught up in, what the pay number is or what the job title is. I know you have to be able to pay the bills, so pay is important. But there's going to be some opportunities that might not quite be the money you're looking for, but you can talk with the recruiter and find out that look, this job's going to start here, then you're going to move up to this position, or you'll have the opportunity to grow from there, or you'll learn better skills. So make sure you dig deep and find out a little bit more about the role and what it might entail and what it could entail in the future, and that might help you find a good opportunity that you might not initially think looks great for you.
That was fantastic advice. Thank you all. And thanks to everyone that commented. We really loved answering your questions. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn if you're not already, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have past episodes of Sound Off with System 1. Our next episode of Sound Off with System 1 is Friday, August 17th at 2 p.m., and we'll be discussing getting the compensation you deserve. We'll see you then.